Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I'm here with David this morning.
Distant, yes, I'm here.
6 feet away from one another in the studio, but we're here nonetheless to share with you some deep secrets and wisdom and suggestions around how to stay balanced and make progress during this time that seems to be so imbalanced, so extreme, and a time that's bringing us to extremes. So after last week's show, we heard from a lot of you around how helpful it was to hear a different perspective, how grounding, how calming it was. We want to continue that conversation today and talk about how to make sure that what we're going through during this, what they call the time of Corona, what we can do, not just to make the most of it, but to make sure that whatever changes and growth we do experience last. So we do the Weekly Energy Boost every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific on Facebook, but we're also available on all the platforms that you find your podcasts, your listening pleasure. And what we do is we make an effort. We take the week in between shows to read, to study from ancient Kabbalistic texts to bring you the most powerful, the most profound, and the most practical suggestions from this ancient technology and wisdom.
And we try to share it in a way that like you said, is practical, that people can feel that this is something that is universal and you can share it with anyone and everyone, even if they don't have a background in the wisdom of Kabbalah. For those who always need a reminder, Kabbalah is universal wisdom that reveals the secrets and system of the human soul. So basically, we unlock the secrets of how to live the most productive life, the most fulfilling life, the direct path towards our fulfillment, not to have to go the roundabout ups and downs, avoiding the bad relationships, avoiding the chaotic business scenarios. That's what the wisdom of Kabbalah helps us with. And it gives a person a system to help unite all the different spiritual or even religious systems that they have in their life. It's something that is a foundation for people's spirituality. So we are going to reveal some unique tools and secrets. I think we try to reveal stuff that's unique that you probably won't hear anywhere else. That's what our hope and our wish is. That's what we prepare for. So we do each have a couple tools and secrets we're going to share for moving forward, having balance, manifesting blessings and miracles.
Well, I think one of the challenges that comes with uncharted territory, right? I think one of the difficult things about what we're experiencing now is it's unfamiliar. We've not done it before. We haven't mastered it yet. It's not something that we can look and say, oh, it's going to take 4 weeks and then we'll be done with it. Right. There are a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of potentiality for fear, for worry, for anxiety, for the worst in us to come out. And every week when David and I prepare, we look at that weekly prescription that the Kabbalists provide. It's like a weather forecast. The Kabbalistic calendar is not a means to measure time, but it's really a predictor. It lets us know the ebbs and flows of the positive and the negative, the opportunities and the challenges, so that we can strategize our energy output and input.
That's right.
And this particular week, regardless of what's actually happening, is really there to help us look inside and see. I don't think there's a better way to say it. It's the time for spring cleaning. It is the time where the universe wants us to air out the dirty laundry, put dust off the things, the positive things within us that we haven't been using enough, and take to the curb those things that are no longer serving us, that are hindering us, that are preventing us from being the best version of ourselves. So regardless of what's happening in the year 2020, this week energetically provides us with the fine-tooth comb to go over our personal selves, our internal mechanisms, and sort out what needs to be trashed, what needs to be recycled, and what needs to be polished and put on a shelf for everybody to admire.
And to back that up with some deep Kabbalistic wisdom, those of you who are more versed in the wisdom of Kabbalah, and science backs this up, that everything in this world physically has a spiritual structure behind it. And we call that structure the 10 dimensions. So everything has 10 dimensions of light that make it a complete structure. And our processes in life have 10 dimensions. So for example, that last relationship you were in, or that last person you were dating, that so-called relationship had 10 dimensions of energy. And the way it works is we're kind of climbing these energies through our spiritual work. Every time we have a challenge and we overcome it, we climb another energy and we climb another energy. And this is also called climbing the tree of life. And as you climb these energies, you reveal greater and greater light, miracles, so on and so forth. But the point of why I'm sharing that is what happens when you get to the top. So the top, that 10th level, has a name. It's called the crown or Keter. It's the greatest revelation of light. So that's like those times in your life where, wow, it all just makes sense. Wow, it just all came together. It's so beautiful. This manifests, that manifests, relationship manifests after being in an abusive one for 5-10 years. Business finally starts to get going after bootstrapping it and having rejection and failure. So you reach this 10th level in revelation and you feel high and you feel like it all comes together. So what happens after that? The Kabbalists say the next 10 levels start. And when the next 10 levels start, which is a higher 10 level, you start at the very bottom of the next level. And what the bottom feels like is very empty, very confusing, and very dark. Because remember, if the 10th level, so if we're starting from 1 going up to 10, that 10th level is all the revelation of miracles. The lowest level is all the darkness. And you gradually climb to earn more spiritually again and again and again. So why I'm sharing that is a lot of times, all of a sudden, everything gets confusing. Everything gets to feel like there's no rules. Everything feels like it's kind of in an embryonic state. And it's very painful, especially for people who have control issues. It's very painful for people who are used to having everything in order and structure, and they see the future and they see and feel how everything's going to turn out. But what the point is that you're now in the lowest part of the next level. That's how you know it's your next level. It's unfamiliar. If it was familiar, that's called your level. Your next level is that which is chaotic. So one of the things that we're focusing on with our students is how do you now embrace this next level that feels so dark? Because in this darkness is when you're given the opportunity and the permission from the universe to create whatever you want. You can literally create whatever you want. And I see people taking advantage of this time, and they're becoming more successful than they were before because they realize that they're just in the next level, albeit the lowest level of the next level, but they're in their next level. So they don't look at it as a bad thing.
Right. And for those of you who are newer to the show, newer to the wisdom of Kabbalah, the idea is that we get to know the way the universe works so that we can understand our own personal universe. It's not that there are, I think a lot of people say, I mean, I've had questions like, what does Kabbalah say about the internet? Kabbalah doesn't address the internet because the internet is a relatively new invention. And that's just an example. I can't think of anybody who ever asked me about the internet. But the idea is that we take that understanding about the way that the world was created and we understand how situations are created in our own life.
That's right.
So we're looking now at on one hand, at everyone on the planet basically is being affected by being at this new level.
Yes.
The
lowest
level.
of the next level.
But I have to maintain that balance between what's happening in the world and what's happening for me. There is this, I was reading something over the weekend and I was reminded of this recommendation, that idea that the Kabbalists say you should have 2 pieces of paper in each pocket.
Yes.
One that says, I'm but a speck of dust, and the other one says, the whole world was created for me. It's about being in that balance of knowing that on one hand, I am part of this bigger whole, bigger picture, and what I do and what I say and how I feel affects the entire world. And at the same time, being responsible, controlling my own personal universe. And I think that that's what really is difficult for people right now, is flipping on the news, seeing chaos. I mean, we have a personal friend that's now in a really precarious situation, and when that started to happen, it rattled the certainty that I was firmly planted in, because I think in a sense we hope that through our positive attitude and our spiritual work, we are creating a protective shield around ourselves, around the people that we love, etc. However, everybody also has their own personal correction process. So, imagine if you could buy the people that you love happiness. Imagine if you could give them health for their
Just
birthday.
take their pain away.
Right.
Would that be a good thing?
Well, okay, that's another discussion.
Okay, go ahead.
Would it be a good thing? I'm not sure, because it takes away their process, their ownership over what they're going through.
That's right.
But at the same time, that the ability for each one of us, and David was talking about that being, those people that feel that they're in control, right? Everybody who feels like they're in control, they're not actually in control, right? You can't control the stock market. You can't control your clients. You can't control your neighbors or your family members. I always joke, if you think it's hard to control your husband, try controlling your ex-husband, right? There's you cannot control anyone except yourself. And that's where the real source of happiness and fulfillment is being able to control how things affect me.
So I want to share another deep Kabbalistic tool about how we can control the process, move forward. We all want to avoid the detour, right? Nobody wants to go through a chaotic relationship just to meet their soulmate. Why can't we go through the direct path? I'm a fan of the direct path. This is why I love Kabbalah. So here's a tool that was given to us by our teachers and by the text and the wisdom that we study in Kabbalah, that to achieve balance and to move forward as quickly as possible without the chaos, there's two forces that you have to implement constantly, and it's in line with what Elisheva just said. Number one, you have to have a craving and a desire and a passion to move forward in everything in life. And this kind of stumps people, because people are like, oh yeah, I do want stuff. Wanting is different than you have a obsession or craving for something, like a deep yearning. The yearning is what moves you forward, okay, in life.
And by the way, wanting things to stay good as good as they are is not a yearning.
That's not a yearning, right? That's not a yearning. That's me just being afraid, not me wanting to be in my comfort zone. A yearning means it's an active choice you have to make. It's not something that happens passively. It's I wake up in the morning and I ask myself, okay, what do I yearn for today? If it's growth in the main areas of life, relationships, business, health, you actually have to choose to yearn. You can't wait. You can't passively yearn. You need to choose.
The nature of things is that you don't know what you got till it's gone, right? The universe will take things away from us so that we create a stronger yearning.
Because yearning is so important, and it is a spiritual concept to yearn for things, because yearning creates the vessel, the receptacle, so that energy can come in. If you don't yearn, so you have no receptacle, so what does the universe do? The universe wants to give you, Creator wants to give you, but you have nowhere to put it because you have no yearning. So that forces the universe to then take away something. And that's why 99% of chaos is really just taking something away from us, our comfort, a relationship, health for a moment. It can be you have a headache, a toothache, right? Comfort is being taken away for a day or two, and then you start to yearn. You start to yearn for health. I talk to so many people, they're like running now, and they bought the treadmill and they do all these things because they're freaking out, because they're seeing that their friends are getting sick, or they're reading the news and saying, I got to keep my health up. So all of a sudden there's a yearning for health. So what we're saying is, how do you proactively yearn so that the universe never has to take anything away? That is step one. Now, there's a lot of people who yearn. We know a lot of yearners out there, but they're not. So why do they have chaos?
They're not doers.
Huh?
They're not doers?
They're yearners, and let's say they're even doers, okay? But yes, there are yearners who aren't doers. They just yearn, and then they go make a sandwich or something. So that's a whole other category of people.
Another show.
That's another show. But let's say there are those people who yearn, who crave, and they manifest, and they do great, great things. There's a second part that we need to implement, and that is what we call the restriction. So you need to yearn. Yearning draws the energy. But then you need to also have moments where you let go of your comfort zone in the process of yearning. And I'm going to explain this because it can be, got to make it very clear. So what's an example? Example is, I yearn to be healthy. Great. So now what? Now you've built the vessel, you've built the spiritual vessel. Now you need to let go of whatever is your comfort zone at that moment so that you can manifest that energy. So I yearn to be comfortable. Now I need to let go. I yearn.
Freudian slip there.
I yearn to be healthy. Now I need to let go of my comfort, which is blocking me from being healthy. And that might be some form of sacrifice, some form of restriction, some form of letting go. So there's always this balance of yearning and letting go. And I gave something yesterday about Leo, which is the energy that we're in today. Even though we're in the month of Aries, today is Leo. And it was all about what happens when you're criticized. So this is an example of a person who yearns for success. One of the first things that happens is he gets criticized from the outside world. And you get people who speak bad about you or put you down or poo-poo your ideas. That's very common for people who yearn for success. Why does that happen? Because you yearn, you're drawing the energy, that's great. And then all of these tests come in form of criticism and rejection, and you need to let go of your comfort, your need for approval. That's the let go there. So that's the test for the let go. And not to take it personally, and to keep moving forward, and to keep having certainty. I hope that made sense. It was kind of a deeper topic, and I really wanted to share it. But always there's a moment of letting go of the comfort as you're yearning, and you got to do both. And if you don't do both, there's going to be an imbalance and some form of chaos. Do you want to add to that, Elisheva?
Well, I think that part of what trips people up on their quest to move forward, or their quest to go to their next level is, and it's funny because it's also being in those two places. I have a few examples of being in those two places, which I think is just more illustration of how to be balanced, is that on one hand, we're focused on the details, right? Especially if it's work related, or you're running, maybe it's even health related, you're running your household, whatever. It's very easy to get bogged down by the details.
Yep.
And sometimes, I would say more often than not, when you get bogged down by the details, you lose sight of the bigger picture. So, let's say in a work situation, you're busy micromanaging projects and people, and then you forget why you opened up the business in the first place, or you forget that it's all about, the customer. You get so focused on the tiny details that you lose sight of the big picture, or you get so inspired by the big picture that you are not responsible for the tiny details, right? There's this dance between the two places. Sometimes it helps to have somebody to check in with, to make sure that you're not being hyper-focused or negligent. I don't know what the opposite of I don't want to make it sound like the big picture is negligence. I just mean that being in that both places, being both, that's really the unique thing about human beings, right? We're spiritual beings having a physical experience. And a lot of the times we think we're physical beings trying to connect to spirituality. When you remember that you're a spiritual being having a physical experience, it helps you adjust the zoom, adjust the focus on the lens so that you can stay connected to your personal mission statement, your connection to the light force of the Creator, and the things that are genuinely important to you.
All right, beautiful. I'm also getting a lot of comments now of people commenting on the whole letting go thing. So I want to actually give some examples that make it even more practical. So number one, I think everyone's clear about yearning. If you don't yearn, you're not even in the game. If you don't have a kind of an obsessive, I know that word is a little, can go both ways, but when you're obsessive about something in a positive way, where you're thinking about it, you're craving it, and you're asking for it, it can be very positive. It builds the vessel. That's step one. Everyone's got to do that. But if you want those blessings to come into the vessel, you got to let go of all the small energies. So letting go of the outcome happening at the time you want, letting go of approval, because you're going to see that your need for approval comes up through that whole process of manifesting something. Those are all little energies that kind of clog the vessel. Letting go of taking things personally, which you're going to get a lot of rejections, a lot of criticism. Take the criticism, grow from it, but don't let it shut you down or get you sad. Letting go of addictions. And this is actually a very spiritual concept. Maybe you're starting a business and you're trying to have it take off and be successful. One of the reasons why you may not be successful is because maybe you have an addiction to some substance, or maybe let's say you're a smoker and you've always kind of wanted to get rid of that, and it's just something you do. And you say, well, I could be a smoker and grow a business. A lot of people do it. But what we're saying spiritually is, if you know it's bad for you and you're drawing that energy inside of you, it's taking the space of the success of the business. So you're clogging your vessel with garbage and dirt, and as a result, you're slowing down your process of success. So anything that you want to manifest, a relationship, health, or business, or whatever, make a list of your addictions and know that as long as you have any addiction, it's going to slow down spiritually your process of manifestation. Letting go of doubts. As soon as you decide to do something in life, the doubts are going to come in. The negative thoughts are going to come in. If you entertain them, if you dwell on them, if you talk with your doubts, you're slowing down your process and you're filling your vessel with garbage. So these are some nice examples that people are writing, and I just wanted to comment on.
Well, I think the conversation is perfect timing again, because as David mentioned before, we're in what the Kabbalists call the 12 days of Aries. Each one of the first 12 days of the month of Aries, which we're in right now, controls a month of the year. It's according to Kabbalah, Aries is the first calendar month. So we're right today. Monday is the day that controls Leo, and David shared yesterday on Kabbalah.com some tips for navigating today. In a few hours, I'll be on Kabbalah.com talking about how to navigate Virgo, which
That's right,
starts
2 p.m. Pacific time. You'll be giving the secrets of Virgo.
Exactly. And every day this week, you can go back and watch the previous days as well. You can go to Kabbalah.com, and we have 2 live streams every day with different teachers from around the world giving you the tips for the day. So I don't know. I've been watching them. I think they're fabulous because everybody has a different personality, a different take, but there is so much wisdom in those 12 minutes. Each bit of consciousness from the teachers is just 12 minutes long, so it's really bite-sized and easy, and all you have to do is sign up on Kabbalah.com
and it's
too.
Free.
And it's free.
Yeah.
So the universe in these 12 days is also giving us that magnifying glass. How am I, it's in this day, for example, how am I addicted to approval, other people's perceptions of me? How much acknowledgement and recognition do I need? Then comes sundown, we shift to Virgo mode, and we get the self-judgment, self-criticism, needing everything to be perfect mode. And it's like the universe gives us these 12 viewfinders to look through in this time so that we can see those things that are blocking us from moving forward, so that we can see the triggers that are distracting us. To me, a trigger is just a distraction. Like David said, you're on a positive trajectory, you're moving into a great level, and then suddenly someone says something about you. Right. And you get busy defending, correcting, justifying. Is that your purpose? Right? That's why you created the business. That's why you started the relationship. That's why you moved to wherever it is. No, those triggers, that's, I think, one of the greatest things to remember in the month of Aries in general is anything that triggers you is a distraction. Being busy with it when you're being triggered is not the time. The Kabbalists teach at night, before you go to bed, and we share this probably once a month, at night before you go to bed, look at what happened there. What came up for you? What was said? How you responded? Where that need for, again, the approval, the justification, the defense, whatever it was that came up for you, think about it, meditate on it, strategize for the next time it's going to happen, because inevitably it's going to happen again, and move on. But being busy with it in the moment is taking your energy from the vessel you want to put it into and putting it into a cup with holes.
Beautiful. So we're simplifying it, and we have a great question here. So someone says, for the yearning part, what if I've lost my ability to yearn? Right. So some people are shut down, or they don't have a craving, they don't have a desire. It can happen in relationships. It happens in marriages often. Right. So many marriages, the craving dissipates after, I don't know, a week, a day,
don't look at me.
A couple of years.
Not my problem.
You're going strong. But it's so common because we deal with marriages all the time. So what does a person do when they've lost the craving? A couple of tips, maybe you can add to it. Number one, it says that you should pray and ask for a craving. You should crave a craving. And if you don't have a craving to do that, you should pray and ask for a craving
for the craving.
Right. So there's always a starting point. So that it sounds funny, but that actually works. That is actually one of the great Kabbalists.
What that really tells us is no one is a lost cause.
That's right. That's right.
I think that's
you
one
have
of
the
the
power.
most
You have the
most
power.
beautiful teachings from Kabbalah is that no one's a lost cause. No one is ever too far gone. As long as you have the ability to breathe, you have the ability to change.
That's right. Something else that creates craving is, well, what's the craving killer? What kills a craving? What kills a yearning and a desire and a passion is when you get what you want.
I was going to say fulfillment.
Fulfillment, right? So as soon as you receive something, you don't want it anymore, right? You're hungry. You're about to eat a steak. You're looking at the steak. You're so happy. After the first bite, the novelty wears off. And by the end of the meal, you don't even want to look at it anymore, and you want to just go home, and that's it. So as soon as you receive what you want, the craving dissipates. So what do you do about that? And who are the people who are physically the most hungry? Are the people who exercise, the people who work, because you get your metabolism going. So spiritually, it's the same thing. If you want to crave more in life, it only happens by spiritually exercising. The more you give, the more you share, the more you get out there, the more you experiment, the more you fail, the more you just exert energy and effort in any endeavor, it awakens the vessel. It speeds up the spiritual metabolism.
Right. Think about it. When do you bring your significant other flowers? After a fight.
Right.
I think one of the best bits of advice I ever got in the realm of relationships is when you feel you're getting annoyed or irritated, or you'd rather be alone or leave me alone, that the thought comes to you about your partner, you give ridiculously. That's when you send flowers when things are status quo. You will never get to that place, meaning you're in that, you're so hyper aware of the vibe that you can preempt the dip by giving in a way that's uncalled for. When I say uncalled for, it makes it sound terrible. Nobody asked you. You give anyway. You find ways to do things for the other person that are not in demand or requested. You will always feel, you will never lose that love and feeling.
Studies have shown that with your employees, that when you give them bonuses around the times where people expect bonuses, they actually don't really appreciate it that much. So, it's a Christmas bonus. Oh, it's your New Year bonus. It's the end of the year bonus. Actually, when you give them, it can be something even much smaller, but in a way of surprise.
Yeah, when it's unexpected, that's when it works.
That's when they feel the greatest level of appreciation. And the greatest advice I learned, and it's funny because I think about it every day because by nature we're all the same, for marriage or any relationship, best advice I ever got is when you wake up, you have to ask yourself, what did you do or what are you going to do today to earn your relationship? Like, I know practically, like one of the things my wife's recently asking me for is we're home, so we have nothing else to do. So she's like, can you make me a salad in the morning? And I got so excited to do that for the first couple of days. And then at some point I'm like, okay.
Week 3, David Ghiyam.
Yeah, week 3 of quarantine, I noticed that I was making the salad 20 minutes later, or one day I forgot to make the salad. And then I thought, well, there must be a smarter way of doing this. I can make it the night before. I came up with try to come up with all these tricks to make it easier for me.
Outsourcing, ordering
I
the salad.
was outsourcing it. I was thinking, why don't I make 2 salads and I'll just split it up, but then it won't be as fresh the next day. I think I even did that once, and she's like, it doesn't taste as fresh. So then I realized instead of me trying to make my life comfortable and making it about me, I said making that salad every day with love, with the lemon, squeezing the lemon and taking the seed out. At some point I'm just like, there's a seed in there. It's all right. Just mix it in with the salad. So I just thought, this is my way of earning the marriage each day, because it's got to be an act of discomfort. So a loving act that's uncomfortable for you at least once a day is how you earn the relationship. Same thing with business. An action which is uncomfortable, which is positive for the business, is how the business becomes alive. A great mentor, I took his course. I was listening to one of his courses recently. He said one of the best pieces of business advice that he got, which I found to be so inspiring, is any business or relationship you're in right now, you have to have the assumption that in 5 years it's going to fail. Meaning in 5 years, you will be outdated, you will be irrelevant, and someone's going to take your place. And when you think that way, you're constantly forced to innovate. And you're constantly forced to come up with something else that's uncomfortable, because guess what? Your competitors who are trailing behind you, they're just looking at your stuff, seeing what's wrong with it, and they're innovating it. But you're just riding the wave of your success. You don't realize your competitors are going to come right up behind you, and they're innovating. And innovation is really sharing, because innovation is a way of bringing value to the world. And if you're not innovating, you're selfish. So you got to be innovating in your relationship. You got to be innovating in your business. You got to be innovating with your health. And that basically means, what are you doing that's uncomfortable for you, that's adding value at least once a day in each area?
I think that this is a great segue to something that's been nagging at me since last week's show. And if you didn't get to listen to last week's show, I highly recommend it, because I would say that this is in a way part 2 of last week's show. I find that every month, every astrological month, it's like a 4-part series. They're all always connected. They're all always depending, shouting out at one another. Since last week's show, one of the questions that's been chasing me is, if the staying at home and the self-quarantine and the basically ceasing of life as we knew it a month ago is to end. That's one of the things we talked about. We have to get what we're supposed to get from it. It's not the why, it's the how. The universe is asking us to make drastic changes. And we talked last week about how the tendency is that when things go back to normal, so do we. We revert back to the old us, the reactive us. The change wears off. So the question that's been nagging me all week is, what is it going to take for the change to last? What needs to happen within each one of us so that not only everyone who is affected by the virus heals, but that we go, when we recover from this, we are a better species because of it. That we don't go back to those old patterns and old belief systems and old ways of treating ourselves and others. And what we're talking about today, that yearning without needing because what's really happening? Our lives got taken away, right? We weren't, for whatever reason, we weren't in I can't tell you what we weren't doing or what we were doing, but the universe decided, you can't have this right now. You didn't respect it, desire it, appreciate it. Now you don't have it anymore. We're going to get super appreciative like we do in the face of crisis. And then what can we do? How can we maintain those changes, not because we have to, but because we want to? And I don't know that I have the answer. It's like something every couple hours it circles back and taps me on the shoulder and says, what is it? What do we need to do? What needs to be done? And this morning on the way to the studio, the thought that occurred to me was, I need the change.
We are going to give an answer.
Right.
We will. We want our audience to know we're not just like having a philosophy discussion.
Right.
We're going to give you a tool.
And I want to hear also, if you guys are on, if you're so inclined, you can comment. What do you think is required for the change to last, for the transformation to stick? I know none of us wants to be here. I mean, as much as it does have its benefits and its comforts, I don't think it's what we prefer to the usual. I can tell you my kids, for example, I have school-age kids at home. They were talking about how silly it was that they used to say school was boring. They don't want to go to school in the morning. They said when school starts again, they are going to wake up so early and be ready to go. And they want to be first at school, like when the doors open, because, they're still going to school, but it's on a computer and it's not as fun and they can't see their friends and all the other things that come with it. So my question to you guys, to David, and again, we'll get to an answer, is what will it take for us to stay changed? That's a very funny way to say it, but I like it. What is it going to take for us to stay changed? Not to stay woke, to stay changed.
I like that you brought it up. One of the things that I like to do is I like to study people and I like to see what works for people and what doesn't. And as you were talking, it reminded me, so I will share what I think is an answer. I've noticed, well, what's differentiating the people who are happy and successful and strong and thriving from people who just don't have that reality. They don't experience that reality. They are always getting themselves in jams and drama. And I'm just always studying people. And obviously, Kabbalah gave me a lot of those answers because I saw that people who really used this wisdom in the right way were the outliers, and they were standing out, and they were having the lives that people want to have. But I think one thing that I realized that will work, and I desire to apply this to my own life, is my belief system about life needs to be that cruise control is complete chaos, and spiritual innovation and hitting the reset button is complete miraculous, miracles and wonders. So, and you got to do that every day, I think. So I think every day, if you have to delete everything you've done before.
50 first dates.
What?
50 first dates. You wake up in the morning and you can't remember what happened yesterday.
Yes. Yes. And it has to be a way of life. It's not like, oh, it's something I apply here. It's like you have to be the person. And I've seen people like that. People who don't even care or don't even remember what they did yesterday. They just live their life with this new consciousness. So it's not like, oh, try to do this. They just are rebooters. Maybe that's what we can call them. They reboot the system every day.
Daily reboot.
It's a daily reboot. They basically pretend like they have nothing. They're broke, even though they're not. They don't have a relationship, even though they do. And they basically say, how am I going to go out there and earn it? I mean, here's where Kabbalah comes in, because Kabbalah gives you the component of how to earn it spiritually. So not just physically. A lot of people know how to get stuff physically in this world, but how do you also earn the energy of it, which is the spiritual component? And I think that's what it's about. I think I know colleagues of ours and peers of ours, and their mentality every day is to enjoy what they have and appreciate it, yes, but completely reboot the system, start over, and realize that they have more work to do both physically and spiritually. And those are the people that are avoiding the chaos. They become immune. Even when the world goes to chaos, to them, it doesn't make a difference because they're already rebooting their system. They don't need the external reboot.
Well, by the way, if you're relatively new to the show, maybe it's the first time you're listening, maybe some of what we're saying sounds unrealistic or out of reach. Mm-hmm. If you want to understand more on a day-to-day level how to do what we're talking about, how to apply the concepts we're talking about, I welcome you to visit Kabbalah1.com, KABBALAHONE.com. We have a coupon code for our listeners that gets you 30% off the course fee. And it really breaks it down to the nuts and bolts so that you, in a day-to-day moment situation, know how to be proactive, how to let go, how to desire, all the things that David is talking about, broken down into bite-sized, easy understanding exercises, the whole thing. It's like 40 hours or 40 sessions of different things you can do. Anyway, I'm sure everybody has a little bit more time on their hands. You can also gift it to people if you're...
Yeah, a lot of people are gifting it right now.
There's
and 100% of it goes to charity. So you're being charitable also by doing this. And also something we don't talk about is Kabbalah 2. Kabbalah 2 is on the same platform. So a lot of people maybe have done Kabbalah 1. Kabbalah 2 focuses on amazing content about relationships, soulmate workshop, breakthroughs in business. We just go much, much deeper. So almost everyone I've seen who's taken Kabbalah 1 has moved on to Kabbalah 2. And now we also have it in Spanish. So our Spanish-speaking world, which is huge. We have so many Latin American speakers who are following us and our
Latin American isn't a language.
What did I say?
Latin American speakers.
No, okay, that's not what I meant. Our Latin American followers,
yes,
not speakers,
there you go.
Sorry, are because we also have the weekly energy boost in Spanish also.
Right.
When does that air?
Tuesdays at 11 Pacific.
It's actually even more popular than our show.
Yes, way more. Like
They started
tenfold.
they started like 3 weeks ago, and they have like 10 times the audience we have.
6 months ago, they're going very strong. And actually, this week they have a Kabbalistic astrologer on the show tomorrow, which is awesome. I think to get some perspective and understanding if you speak Spanish.
Yes.
If you don't, sorry. But on the coattails of what David was saying, that idea of being detached, right? Making maximum effort and not being attached to the outcome, right? That somebody's asking about setting goals in the comments. Mm-hmm. You set those goals, right? You say, this is how I want this to look. This is how much money I want it to make, at least. You say, you know, you in your mind, you do everything in what we call the 1%, everything in the physical realm that you need to do. You dot those I's and you cross those T's, but then you expect the unexpected. And to me, I know I'm a little bit more of the airy, you know, kind of person. David is much more down to earth, I think, than I am. To me, I go out into the day expecting the unexpected, looking forward to what surprises the light force of the Creator has in store for me. And that curiosity, that wonder, that sense of whatever I could be wishing for is going to be so much better. And I'll tell you a really funny sort of personal story. Before the quarantine, or before all of this happened, I took my kids to Disneyland. Okay? Disneyland closed very shortly thereafter. So I had never taken my kids to Disneyland before. It was a very big deal. We were there for 13 hours. It was awesome. I was mom of the year. My husband was dad of the year. And, you know, beyond our expectations, of course. And then we get, you know, a couple days later, Disneyland shuts down. And now our kids are like, wasn't that the best thing ever? Like, they're still reliving how amazing it was that their parents took them to Disneyland, and now no one can go to Disneyland. So I'm saying I had this expectation of I was going to be the best mom in the world, and I was so excited to see how it was going to. I'm giving you a positive one, right? This is not a physical. Yes, I packed lunches, and yes, I took pictures, and yes, we bought souvenirs. I was ready for it to be good. It was beyond, and I'm sharing that with you because I think a lot of what we look at now as, oh, I wish I could just go to the movies, right? My kids really miss the movies. Oh, I wish I could just, a lot of the things that we took for granted, we can't anymore because they've been taken away from us. We want now to move forward and to receive what the universe is trying to give us, to receive what the Creator, there is this master plan, right? There's that saying, you know, man plans and God laughs. Mm-hmm. We are planning, and you need to plan, but then you need to let the paper airplane fly. You need to let go, and you need to know that the universe is going to show you something that's even better than you planned for, expected. We used tons of hand sanitizer. We washed our hands 500 times a day, whatever we did. The reality is that the less you try to micromanage, the more blessings you receive. And the people that micromanage are miserable and upset because they're not getting what they planned or asked for. And even in that, by letting go of that, knowing that my plans are a fraction of the potential blessing I can receive, and by me being attached to those plans, I am actually limiting what I can get from it.
And we're not telling people not to plan or not to
That's
manage.
what I'm saying. You got it. You bring the hand sanitizer.
Yeah, micromanaging is also not a bad thing as long as you can easily pivot and you're not upset about that pivot. You can let go and be hands-on, and let go and be hands-on in a moment, in a second, and you never take it personally. So I think it's powerful what you're saying, because we're asking people to let go of whatever they feel attached to energetically, because that energy is controlling them, and that will always block your soul from accessing the miracles. In Kabbalah, we say the miracles don't come based on what you have an attachment to, what you are addicted to, what you are reactive to. And that's why we teach the concepts of how to transform reactive behavior, how to understand what your soul's purpose is and what the baggage is your soul came to this world, and take responsibility for that. If people are always insulting you, it's because you have a need for approval. People are always abusing you, it's probably because your correction in this world is that you don't value yourself. Go to the seed level of where you are holding on or needing some energy as your form of fulfillment. And once you let that go or transform that, take responsibility for that, and things open up.
That I think is the most brilliant thing you've said all morning.
Well, I haven't said much yet.
No, seriously, the letting go of those, you think it's not a big deal. Taking things personally, it's not a big deal, right? It's not causing any World War III. But for you...
We're saying it is.
Right. That's... the universe is now telling us to focus on you, to spring clean you. You want to spring clean your house? You have all the time in the world now to do it. Go for it. I actually saw somebody post it on social media. I thought that the reason I couldn't, reorganize my house is because I was too busy. It turns out that's not the reason. we are given the opportunity now to grow our appreciation, to reinvent ourselves, to not take things personally, to not get defensive. You have to find inside you what your story is, how you get that lack inside you filled, and let it go. And if we do that work this week, what we'll find is a dramatic shift, right? Well, I always say, not always, on most shows I say, imagine if everybody who's listening to the show right now did this work, how different the world would look this week.
Thanks to you guys, our audience is growing. You can like, share, and comment even throughout the week. We're responding to the comments. We're keeping the conversation going. I think last week we probably had a total of over 30 or 40,000 viewers if we're looking at all our platforms combined. Facebook is not the only way, but it is the main form of lead generation where people are learning about our show. I think probably the easiest way to listen to our show is on podcast or on Spotify. I think very easy.
Wherever you get your podcasts, we're there. We're also on IGTV and YouTube, if those are better platforms for you. If you have questions, you want to share something with us, you can also email us at energyboost@kabbalah.com. And we'll be back next week sharing with you. Next week actually contains...
What's the topic of next week? Do you know?
I know. You want me to check my
email? People can tell us topics that they would like us to talk about, but it's going to be a sexy topic.
Well, of course, because next week contains one of the most powerful windows in time of the year.
That's right.
So do not miss next Monday's show. Try to join us live if you can. Definitely catch it before Wednesday. We're going to be sharing with you how to take advantage of the cosmic window that takes place next week. Have a fabulous 7 days until we see you again, and we'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.